What up, my sister?
Let me know if this is going to be too distracting, but otherwise, my house
You
is locations.
you said your house is crazy,
Looking,
looking great.
the background of my house is like nuts. So I will,
No,
if we need to get rid of the background.
no. I mean, I don't know. I'm not like a video queen.
Okay.
So I have no idea, but we just gonna roll with it.
Okay, perfect.
But I'm excited to
Okay,
chat.
can you
Welcome,
just let
welcome.
everybody know in the households that we are on camera?
Yeah, all good.
Hang on one second.
There you get little ones popping in.
Yeah. Right.
Welcome.
And I do have a hard stop
Yay.
at 5 or
I
3.
did
So
too. I did
okay.
too. So
Yeah.
it's all good. Don't
Back
worry
to back
about
to
it.
back. Okay.
No, we're gonna cover a lot in a little bit of time because I know how you and I are. But I just wanted to welcome you to the podcast, say thanks for joining. Um, and I was thinking about it this morning. I'm like, when did we even meet? It was like 2007.
Yep.
Like,
You were pregnant with vision.
yeah, so I had him in 2009.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it was probably like late 2008 into
Yep.
do that or early 2009.
Right. You were taking a class about the prison, dismantling the prison system and how, messed up it is. So
Damn. Yeah, because I feel like, we're very similar. Like we share same birthday, both Aries, fire. You're 1 year older than me, but we have the same birthday, April 4th, which my Angelo also has that birthday. And then we're both mixed. We got the kids. Like we're basically twins.
yeah, I feel like we were both like overcoming some great adversities at the time and
Mm,
found in each other like strength and um yeah, like we were both just kind of emerging from some dark places and we're like
yeah,
crawling out of something like very dark and just as a beacon for I remember you went to like Mexico and you came
I
back
did.
such a bright light and I was like yes and I just wanted to continue to see that Tiff, which was like
Yeah.
powered, super focused on all of like your being and so yeah,
Mm.
it was a good time.
Yeah, no, I feel like you're like a mirror and like, oh wow, like this is someone who's very similar to me. Like we're having similar experiences, but on different journeys. And then like we would just keep, doing this with each other, overlapping and connecting. So it's been awesome. Yeah, you've been in my life for so long. But I feel like the world has taken you in such like different realms and like magical places. And I felt like you were sort of figuring out your way for a long time, similar to me. But it feels like you've landed, right? So maybe you can like share a little bit about like where you've landed, kind of a little bit who you are, what you do, how many kids you got, where do you live, just the basics so folks kind of know who Shireen is. Because I don't even know if I said your name. Hey, Shireen. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for the intro. Yeah, and I think it was spot on what you said of just the intertwining and when you have true soul friends, it doesn't matter
Mm,
distance and time, the core of who we are. It's like we could have spoken every day for the last 10 years and still have come to this place as friends.
yeah.
So I am Shiren Rattigan. I am the CEO and founder of Colossal Academy. I have 3 amazing daughters and a husband as well.
Oh,
And we live intergenerationally. So my mother and I and my family all live together. So these
I
are,
didn't know that.
yes, it's amazing. And also just, in the West, we don't really have a lot of models of what intergenerational living looks like, or even co-habitation looks like. We're really
Totally.
very individual. And so having her in the home is like bringing such depth of wisdom. And but also you got to deal with your stuff. When I came back, I lived and worked in Mexico for many years. And so when I came back, 16-year-old Shireen moved in with her mother, right? And so these patterns of 16-year-old Shireen,
Come
like,
up.
I want cereal, just very the inner child
Oh,
came at the forefront, right? Like where I couldn't, she's my mother, right? So I
yeah.
became the child and having to hold the child's role again.
Wow.
So yeah, it's just learning how to, it took about 3 years really of hard work of like, no, I'm an adult and this is my
Yeah.
household, this is my family, these are my goals, these are my, I know you see one very specific aspect and mamas know their children, but I've
Yeah.
evolved and grown. And so to
Wow.
share that and also heal her, because at some point we get to break generational, intergenerational trauma, and oftentimes we don't go back to get the people who were
Mm,
either involved in it or experienced it or can't break it themselves, right? So
yeah.
to be a great teacher for her as well of like
Which
process.
some of us don't have that opportunity, right? Like either, like me, my mom passed already, but also other people, they just don't have that kind of relationship, or there's no interest there. So for your mom to be even open and interested to the interchanging, like, or the mutual exchange of give and take on the healing front is like amazing.
Well, I don't think it's always, I will tell you that I do not think it's always that open and like,
Yeah,
let's
sure.
heal. It's
Yeah.
healing, which is ugly and brutal and snotty and cries and tears. But on the other side of it is like you have to go through that channel and that tunnel and the darkness together to
Mm.
get to the other side of it. It's not, there's like arguing and
Yeah.
pouting and all the things that come with that. But it's when you're yielding a sword, there's a lot of banging and fire that you have to get through to become the next, the next evolution of what we are.
Yeah. So like what's the kind of like the why for you? Is it intergenerational living, or like what's the kind of motivation that makes you be able to like move through that hard shit?
Well, my mother and I are really good friends,
Mm,
so I love her as a friend. Like, and I only think it's worth it now. So, Tiff, you've known me for a while, and I've done a lot of community work and really like
yeah.
gone to fire, gone to the picket line, gone to the front lines of like whatever needs to be birthed. And I found in my older years, and I'll be 40 this year. So I found in the last few years that it's not that the work happens in the home, right?
Mm,
The home is actually the comic, like, and also the classroom, which we'll talk about later, but really the everything that's reflected in society enters the home, right?
mm,
And that when you can really channel and heal and protest and change and be transformative within your home, then you're able to like go out into the world. And that's
mm,
similar to how I run the schools and in the classroom.
mm.
But you know, it's felt like less, um, I have less time, I have less patience, and I actually don't want to go to battle with everybody over everything. I really just
Yeah.
want to deeply dive into with the people I love so deeply and
Mm,
work because it's worth it for me. Otherwise, I'm
mm,
planting lots of seeds. I don't want
mm.
like wildflowers right now. I want like well-rooted roses and other
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
something deeper rooted than just like a field of like wildflower seeds all over the place. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
worth the work.
Wow. I really resonate with that, because I do feel like, a lot of people feel like in some ways like the work we do in the home is like not enough, or like the growth we, really impart with our children or in ourselves, our own healing work is like not enough. We have to do more. We have to get out there in the world. We got to change the world. We got to do all these things. But I feel like, yo, I'm about impacting the next 7 generations. So like, how am I going to do that if I'm only solely focused outside of my own home when I'm here, my kids are here, my family's here, like this is the real work to change, like you're saying, like not only heal past generations, but set the path forward for the next 7 and beyond. So I love that you place a lot of value on that and see like the roots and the value of planting those deeper roots, like where you are. That's really awesome.
But I also think there's space and time for that too. There's a time where we have to be called as a society to be like, this is not right, right?
Right,
Like
of course.
police brutality is not right. We need to take to the streets. But there are times where, I mean, there's like this back and forth and this give and take of when do I belong to the public and community, and when do I belong to myself, and when do I belong to my family, and when do what I have to gift the world belongs to others, right? And there's like that fine, just because I have so many things happening, it's like I have to refine, I have to color code, I have to put it in their boxes, and I'm also thinking. So but just having and feeling like it's that your family is the one that stays, right? Like that's the one that everybody else comes and goes and they intertwine in your life, but that the work, the actual work is like right in front of you, right? And it's in how we live on the day to day. But yeah, there's definitely a time for both, right? I mean, sometimes we got to take to the streets, like that's just how it is, and sometimes, well, the majority of the time, so I will say, is cultivating a better at-home life.
Yeah. I want you to share more about Colossal, but I do have a question based on what you just said, because it's something that I've been struggling with a lot. And you said like family is the one that stays, but in my life, family doesn't stay. And so I've really struggled with the concept of family, and I've been really like wrestling with it for like the last couple of years, because my dad is, we're not very close. He was in and out of prison my whole life. So, he's there, but not there. And then my mom, obviously has already passed. And then I've been through relationships and I've experienced a divorce, and I was in a long-term partnership that ended. So it's like these ideas of like family is like I've internalized that it means permanence, but my experience is that family is impermanent. Like it's not permanent. So I'm curious, like what do you understand family to be? Because I've personally really struggled with that.
Yeah, I think it's the constant, and I've gone and left and traveled the world and come back and been all over the place, and some things remain the same, right? And what I'm pouring into is my family and my children are permanent,
Yeah.
I also don't have a relationship with my father, very similar. This was another thing you and I very much could understand each other on. And yeah, I think chosen family though too, right? And choosing who you can keep in your life. But I think there's like a constant set of people. Me, that's been my experience, that my cousin is moving here. This last year really taught me that like people come into this space, into Colossal Academy, they come into the space and then they heal their inner child and they're like, bye. And I'm like, no. You need to pour back in. Like, just to come heal the inner child and have a great experience. And they're like, okay, I'm going to move on to other things. It's like, no, now you need to keep it. So some of like my meditations and thoughts have brought like them pour into your family. Like at least your lineage is going to have some healing, right? Like even if my cousin left in a year, at least I know that that's staying within our family lineage. Like the kind of healing and that deep work that goes into being in this space is going to be maintained within our unit, whether she's with me all the time or not, or maybe this is a year we have together, but at least I know that I'm pouring into something that's not just like someone else's family,
Yeah.
It's like a fourth cousin. Like this is not like first
Close.
over.
Yeah. That's funny. No, it makes me feel like maybe family for me is something that I'm still building, because I didn't necessarily get it. But, when I'm 75, 80, 90, like my kids and their kids and their kids are all going to say they have family, right? Like that there's going to be a sense of permanence. And that's kind of been the story of my life, trailblazing and creating what isn't there. it just hurts. But I feel like maybe that's part of my, like they call it here in Hawaii, kuleana, like my responsibility, like part of the torch that I'm taking up in my lineage and in my family is to kind of restore that a bit. So thank you for sharing that. So a big intention of, these conversations I'm having with mamas, with wild mamas, is to, not only start to kind of like uncover and shift the narrative around what motherhood looks and feels like, but also to just like bring more awareness around the fact that mamas have dreams, we have ambitions, like we have goals, and you and I are very fiery, we're very ambitious, we've got a lot of masculine energy as well as our feminine. And so I just want to kind of hear from you, like as a mama, maybe you can share a little bit about what Colossal is and like where that dream was in like your bigger picture, or was it always a dream, or like how did that come to be? But maybe just share a little bit about what it is first.
Yeah, so Colossal Academy, I have to go where I know for this one, but the Colossal Academy are a network of micro schools that are currently for teens and tweens. And the idea is that students graduate high school as CEOs of their own businesses, right? We're trying to make sure that school is relevant and really updated. I do not think it was not a straight line for sure.
Yeah.
To get where I am right now, but definitely the experiences I've had have the divine architecture of what I'm doing and while I'm here put on this planet were because of all the experiences and the loop. And it was like, this is why you needed to be in Mexico. This is why you needed to be in Portugal. This is why you needed to be in Chicago. This is why you have a Jamaican dad. This is what, like all of these things, like just came to the most magnificent big bang for me. And to be an entrepreneur, a hustler, a mover, a trailblazer, to really have a school for my own children, which reflected the kind of environment that I expect from for my children. So what was happening is I was creating these beautiful spaces of inclusivity, of freedom, of love, and my kids weren't receiving that. My own children were not receiving the level at which I was giving other children, right? So there's a lot of things have happened, but basically during COVID, during the great shutdown, I was seeing extent like virtual learning looks like. And I was working in a Montessori school, which was inspired because I wanted an environment better for my children, right? I'm like, so then the kids can go to school there, I can be there. I'm definitely not a kindergarten teacher. I'm totally middle school. I cannot handle littles, but at least then it's all in one place, right? So I'm seeing what's happening and I'm like, man, we really need to have the Montessori environment in front of us. Like we need to be like manipulating things within our physical realm. We need to be tasting, touching, experiencing the same thing, but through a screen. So I suggested it. And there were a lot of other things that inspired them to fire or let me go. One was asking for more cultural like responsiveness around George Floyd. But the point of it was a painful, like kind of firing. And I just was like, you know what? I could do this. And there were 4 families that were just like, hey, we'll pay you the tuition that we were planning on paying them. And that was way more than my salary. And so I got to just create, I was like, I can create whatever classroom I want. And I can do whatever I want. And I can bring my children on this journey. And I can make sure I put the teachers in place. And I can train them to exactly what I want for my own children. And I can curate like all this stuff.
Wow.
Like, learning out of it. And my middle child is highly dyslexic. So I have a dyslexic educator there, dyslexic and dyspraxia, because that's exactly what she needs. And so I will make sure she has the best at whatever I can afford and pay for her. And so like in so many ways, I'm curating the space for her. It's a love to her that like, if she were in the traditional system, all of the beautiful things of her being an entrepreneur would be like squished out, right? Like take the line, sit in a chair, listen to the bell, do what I tell you to do.
Yeah.
and then I'll reward you with like an arbitrary grade, right? Like,
Yeah.
um, in turn, it was like the school I needed. So I'm healing my own journey.
Mm,
Also, never fitting in as a teacher and getting like all these like, I know what's right for kids. Like, we're gonna go outside. I got yelled at for taking kids outside because there's grass and bees out there. And I was
mm,
just like, what?
yeah.
Crazy. And so then I think there's something wrong with me, right? Like I
Mm,
internalize that, oh man, maybe I'm not a good enough teacher, but it's like that's exactly what they need and that's what they do, right?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of the genesis and the explosion of Colossal, and
Wow.
centering what I need as a teacher, mother, educator, financially, as well as like vocationally, and inspiring other moms in the way that you do to like create the space for your child. Don't wait for somebody else to make it. If it's not there, it's
Yeah.
not there. You got to do
Yeah.
it yourself, you know?
Yeah. Damn. I'm like,
I've been
damn,
busy, Ted.
Shiren.
I've been busy.
I'm like, holy shit, because it's not like we have talked at length about all of this, because again, we're connected, we're like sisters, but we have our lives, so we're not constantly, in communication, but that's so amazing. And it really resonates to create what you don't see or didn't have rather than just sitting around and waiting. And I feel like that's how we're conditioned is you sit and you wait and you take what you get and that's it. And so for you to use that opportunity through COVID and to have people believe in you and then to like follow your own deeper knowing to create it despite the resistance, despite probably even some of the doubts and the questioning of yourself. It's like, no, I know. And then to have the like courage to move forward. And it's been beautiful to see you literally create a school, like literally create this place, like, and y'all farm and like do all kinds of active experiential type stuff. Like this is a school I needed. I remember being in high school and being pissed that like it's beautiful outside. Why do you have us stuck in this build? I never understood it. And I don't think I never got that education. But my kids are getting it, which is great, but like that's amazing that you've been able to step out and like kind of use that painful rejection as a way to like build what you knew you ultimately wanted. That's incredible.
Well, and I think, Tiff, we're both biracial, and I think that we've never fit in anywhere. And
Yeah.
so when it's the natural default for me, at least,
Mm,
of course I don't fit here in the most rigorous school with the most expensive elite kids. And why, of course I
mm,
don't fit here in the
mm.
I'm neither this nor that, but then I started to be like, no, I don't fit there because it's not created. So you have to
Yeah.
create the spaces that you fit into. And I actually
Yeah.
feel that more of us actually, and I think it goes beyond being biracial, but I definitely think the biracial experience is very much like I'm neither here nor there, or black nor white, or all
Mm.
of the other whatevers, my name is weird, my religion's weird, like all these things. And and then when you finally just accept it, it's like, I'm going to be a Shireen for the rest of my life. And
Mm.
so I might as well just embrace it, or I can spend the next however long, I'm going to be on this planet trying to fit into somebody else's mold. And
Mm.
the more I coach other people that are wanting to open their own micro school, I'm finding they're having the same thing. They don't feel like they fit in. The Becky with the blonde hair and the blue eyes doesn't feel like she fit in. That's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, 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 yeah.
I thought that, but it's like, no, we all have this like internal, like, well, and we just have to start creating and unapologetically, especially as moms, in
Mm.
the education sphere, because we know what's right for our kids.
Mm.
This movement of micro schools is actually led by really amazing educators, but really it's led
Mm.
by moms. And it's like, you're
Mm.
not going to take that type of like, unfortunately, education has struck the chord a little too deep with moms now. And they're like, and whatever it takes,
Mm.
like moms will go to the ends of the earth to make sure
Yeah.
the baby bears have, or the lion cubs have what they need. And so
Yeah.
now we're mad. And so that is creating a whole
We're
new.
and can you explain what a micro school is? Like what does that mean?
So, it's still like an evolving term because it's relatively new, but my
Mhm.
definition for me is a small school. So it's a
Mm,
learning environment. We started off as a homeschool cooperative because that's what made the most sense to launch into the market quickly.
mhm, mhm.
But really, micro schools could be a homeschool cooperative that's a little bit more formalized with like drop off hours. And my school is a K-12 school, and I will not go past. I intentionally got a small building. I intentionally don't have enough seats on the bus. I will not go beyond 40 kids. Like that just will not happen
Mm,
in the entire school. And that I'd rather have many than one huge mammoth school. So
yeah.
for me, my
Mm,
definition is maintaining micro, staying small, so we can have deep connection, do deep projects, individualize, personalize, and make things relevant for kids. And actually, I really see myself as a conduit, right? Like, you tell me what you want and I will go get it. Oh, you need a ride? Let's go, you know?
mm,
So, and then the relationship with parents is also there. So a mom 2 days ago texted me, she's like, hey, my daughter's really into this Japanese classes. I saw this teacher. What, could she like sign on during class? And I'm like, not only is she going to sign on, but we're going to get 3 other kids who happen to also be interested in Japanese to get on a Japanese, so that we could start to really cultivate their interest together, and maybe they could do a
mm,
project together. Or so then my job doesn't become like we're all going to take Japanese. My job is
yeah.
to find the best person to do it and listen to the children.
Mm,
Man, this is not a good teacher. And I'm like, okay, great, we'll try another one. Or be like, this
mm,
is, I want more and more. And so I adapt to them rather than them
mm.
to like come in and like adapt to me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think you mentioned before, like your vision is to like open more schools like this, and like you said, create a network of schools. So like, what's that dream, and what does that look like?
Yeah, it's, the first part of opening Colossal was there was like an internal evolution for me. I was like, okay, I could at least pay my bills, like I could really just, and I could do what I want as a teacher and an educator. And then I was like, I could build the school for my daughter and I could do what I want. And then I was, as we started to grow, I'm like, I have to hire now. Okay,
Mm,
let me hire people. And I'm creating spaces for other people to have the dream job. And so
mm,
then like I'm creating slots and places. And then as it kept growing, and people be like, I want to open a colossal. And I'm like, ooh, what does that look like? Like, I don't open your own like school, do your own thing. I think like I'll help you, but just like do your own. And then I realized, no, actually the model itself is a beautiful model and people can
yeah.
pick up and go, but that I've created a model that people can pick up and really have for their child with still a lot of adaptability. So you really are listening to the child. Um,
Mm,
and I want to impact more kids. And I don't want to teach 7,000 kids myself,
yeah,
but I know
yeah, yeah.
there's agents of change who are like really interested in impacting education and the trajectory,
Mm,
like having a generation of super bomb leaders that are just going to be like amazing.
yeah.
And so, just like having the model run itself. But then the other piece of it is I want to secure some wealth, right, for my own children.
Mm, mm-hmm.
And I grew up with the teacher and a truck driver and farmers. These were the people that were my parents and grandparents were farmers, teachers, and my dad has like a third grade education.
Mm,
He was a truck driver, and so we didn't talk about wealth or in the way that I you know, you would give someone a bond or you'd put your house in a trust. Like I don't even
yeah,
understand all that stuff, right?
yeah.
I have to learn it because I do not want my children to go to the store and have to prioritize these are just like small things, but these are goals of mine. I don't want my kids to have to prioritize what they put on the conveyor belt, right?
Yeah,
The pack of gum goes wherever you need it to go. The
yeah,
chocolate bar, not like the onion and the potato, and then at the end, maybe and then watching the register. I want you to eat what you need to eat when you need to eat it, whenever you want to eat it. That's
yeah,
like major. And then housing at least covered, right? That we would have enough
yeah.
money that their house and their food, water,
Mm,
electricity, basic necessities are taken care of for.
mm.
I said 3 generations, but then you hit me with the 7, and I was like, okay, we could do
Come
that.
on.
Let's
Let's
do the
think about
7.
the 7th. Yes. That's amazing. I feel super inspired by your tenacity and just like your drive, and I feel like your flexibility and your willingness to kind of like move with things. And like you said earlier, you called it the loop de loop, like, and that's same with me. Like none of my journey has been linear, right? But because we learn how to move in a very non-linear way, a very like spiral kind of circular way, we're able to like adapt when opportunity comes or when situations comes, and it really feels like you like been doing that and adapting and keeping yourself open to inspiration and to possibility and opportunity, and it just allows you to expand and expand and expand in this way that like you have this deep sense of purpose, but it doesn't feel, I'm sure at some times it might feel overwhelming, but also it's like it's life-giving because it feels like you're so aligned to the energy that's calling from your own soul. So it's like it's so beautiful to witness, Shireen. Like,
Yeah, but beautiful words from you. Yeah. And honestly, I grew up broke. I grew up poor. And so that adaptability and that like
mm.
we make it work. We'll figure it out. I know how to make a really good mustard sandwich. Like I will tear up a mustard sandwich, It's just, like
Oh.
part of not growing up without having a lot of access to financial funds. Also,
Mm.
there's so much capital in the way that we learn about maneuvering and adaptability. And again, like,
Mm.
guess I hadn't attributed this until we started speaking today, but just having to be a chameleon, right?
Yeah.
To shift and fit into spaces, or
Mm.
being able to hold conversations across the racial spectrum,
Mhm.
economic spectrum. All of those come with like having kind of a biracial experience.
Mm.
I until really right now, I've really just identified as Black, but as we're speaking, I'm like, oh yeah, there's like these things that come with being biracial that I don't think everybody experiences,
Yeah.
that have been seriously have come in handy for me when
Mm.
maneuvering and being an entrepreneur. It's like I adapt as I need to. I can enter any
Yeah.
room that I need to maintain myself, but
Mm.
read people very well, right? Like that just comes from,
Yeah.
you know, some of it poverty, some of it the biracial experience, a lot of it being a
Mm.
teacher,
Mm.
meeting so many people all the time that you just see the beauty in every single person on this planet, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel like our experience is so colorful and complex that it does give us these skills, these intangible ways of moving that like, it's not something that you're necessarily taught. It's just it's survival. Like we fucking had to learn how to survive and make it because we've had this fire in our belly that tells us, no, there's something more for you. There's something more for you. So you just figure it out. But then eventually have to heal some of the ways that we've learned to cope and survive. And it does feel like you have learned how to shift from kind of like, I can make anything work to also I want more. I want more for me. I want more for my children. So like where do you feel like that shift happened? Because I don't think that's an easy shift to make from like, survival or like, kind of just certified hustler. We just gonna make it work, which, serves us to a point, but, isn't always a sustainable way of operating. So like, how have you kind of been able to shift that?
That's a great question. So I listen to a lot of mantras, like a lot.
Mm.
There was a moment there where I was like, I have a poverty mindset, right? Where
Mm.
I'm not even calling it abundance because I don't even think I'm worthy of this kind of wealth, right?
Mm.
So, and it was almost psychotic. And I would have these AirPods on for 12, 13 hours in the day. I would put one in, let the other one charge, put the other one in. I'm like, I'm going to beat this out of my soul
Mm.
until my subconscious becomes the voice that I hear on this. Like I am
Yes.
a magnet. I am worthy of, money. Money is drawn to me, and until it becomes the internal
Mm.
voice, because that is something that wasn't taught to me. So I have to teach it to myself. And
Mm.
so some of the unhealthy coping is like, and sometimes even like the capitalist in me is like, you have to suffer to get this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're gonna
Yeah.
you're gonna suffer until I'm gonna bang that out of your head.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
some of it was quite aggressive, but I also have done
Mm.
rebirthing work about like really healing what it meant to come into this realm as a human and have the human experience. And that came from a chiropractor, actually, where I was like, I'm going to start these cold baths and I'm going to put myself in. I don't know if you've heard about the ice baths,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
shock your system. And then you like listen to what kind of fears you're having in those moments. And he's like, there's other ways to do that. That's a lot more gentle. I'm like, oh no, I'm going to beat this out of myself. Right. And then he's like, have you ever thought of like just breathing exercise? I'm like, breathing? No, we're gonna get to the cause of this, the root cause of like, and like just being such a ram in such an area, like I'm gonna get this subconscious, like I'm put a new thing there. And so he was like, should try this like breathing, rebirthing thing. And I'm like, all right, Dr. Bob, I'll try it. He like, you go into this you lay down and you start to breathe. And I was like, how long is this supposed like? I gotta listen to my mantras.
Yeah.
Like, how long is it gonna take? But then all of a sudden, I went into this like other realm. I have no other way to describe it, but I go to this other realm and I'm rebirthed, and all the answers I needed to have were in that experience of really just like breath work. And I was like, holy cow! Like through breath, I can change and just like accept it. And it was so gentle and loving, and judgmental, and so embracing of ancestor, and so embracing of love, and just light. It's like, oh, I don't have to like beat it out of me.
Right. Yeah.
But that's like that's the like this somewhat of a poverty mindset, or like traumatic, intergenerational traumatic.
Yeah, it's the patriarchy. It's just
I mean, like the violence that
violence.
right?
Yes. Yes.
And so, yeah, that you can be peaceful and still get to the same. That has not. I'm a fighter, right? Like
I know. Yeah.
And so that was kind of the shift, but it was an intentional thing. I recognized a thing and I fixed the thing, right?
Yeah.
And I asked for help and guidance because it was beyond what I could do by myself, right? And so,
I love that.
And then when it felt right, I trusted the people and the words that it made sense to me, where inside in my internal voice, where I'm like, this is home. This is the right path. This, I'm not feeling confused about this. This is really right. Breathe your way out, girl. Just like stretch and breathe.
I love that. That's so powerful and so beautiful. And I love the shift from like the fighting and the aggression and the like pushing forward, which we can do. We know how to do that. We do it really well, actually. But coming into the grace, coming into the gentleness, coming into the love and the softness and the like the ease and the flow, and still being able to make those kinds of strides is a whole new world. It's like, wait a minute, what? But it feels like such the way of the universe and of Grandmother Earth, and how nature works, and just the rhythms and the seasons and the cycles of nature, which is why I align to that so much. And that's core to what I teach my mamos is aligning back to that knowing. But for you to be able to like come into that is so powerful, because I remember when I would literally wake up and my thoughts were so negative, like they were just like, it was like a bully. Like you wake up and it's like immediate judgment, criticism, you're not good enough, I can't believe you woke up late, like all kinds. And I'm like, what is this? I don't know if it's from the church I was in, I don't know if it's my sister from way back when, I don't know who it is, but it was like all this negativity like coming in. And I had to do the same as you, in that I had to really intentionally focus on it and shift, like decide, I'm going to shift my negative thinking. I'm going to shift this pattern. It wasn't specific to like poverty and abundance, but it was very like, I don't want to think negatively like this anymore. And so I had to become very conscious to my own thoughts. And when I would catch them, I would replace them. Like I had to find a replacement thought, like kind of like your mantras. I had to find what's the replacement belief or thought that, I can go to kind of get this thing out of my head. And I was like relentless about it. And eventually, like probably some months later, I woke up one morning and it was like a really nice voice in my head. And I was like, what? What? And that's the voice that's been present ever since, is this loving, just kind, just like, no, we could do it, Tiff. No, it's okay. Like, it's all good. Like, like, and so I feel like I have this new relationship with myself and my own mind that supports my growth and supports my evolution and supports, the mistakes. And I think I have a hard time interacting with people who have that kind of judgmental criticism, like type energy and attitude. Cause I'm like, I worked so hard to get that out of myself. Why do I then want to succumb myself to you now doing that to me? Like, but I think that when we do that to ourselves, we are more open to receiving that from other people. But when we can learn how to value ourselves, our interactions and relationships with other people also then change. So that's amazing that you shifted that in that way, and we're, you know, so focused on making that change. That's awesome.
And just learning to accept love, right? Too. And
Yeah.
my husband is very, very so you talked a little bit earlier about masculinity, right? Like
Yeah.
I mean, I don't present as masculine. I know I present as very feminine, especially because I put my eyelashes on. So I'm gonna be with Tiff today.
Yeah.
And so so I was like, I'm really masculine. And it was like some kind of aha moment,
Mm,
right? And I was like, oh my God, I'm really masculine. Oh
mm.
my gosh. So I like sat my husband down, and my husband is like hyper masculine looking. He's a surfer dude. He does have long hair. He has very distinct jawline. He's very handsome and very like Ken doll-ish, I was like, baby, we gotta talk. We gotta talk. He's like, what? I'm like, okay. So I sit him down. I'm like, I gotta tell you something. I'm very masculine. Like, oh, okay, yeah, baby. I know that. That was like, no, baby. I don't think you understand. Like, I'm very masculine. He's like, yeah, I know. I'm very feminine.
Yeah.
Oh, he's like, I like to hug and nurture the kids. You really like to work. That's why we work. And I was like, oh,
Uh,
I get it now. And he's like, you just know. It's like he knew things about me that I hadn't known yet. And I was like,
yeah.
but that embracing that and loving that, but that kind of goes back to like the people around you wanting to see that light continue to shine as bright as possible,
Mm,
right? And the way that they interact with themselves, right? That we have
mm,
something, they see themselves as sacred, or that they're coming to a sacredness, right? And
mm,
especially now that I'm not an elder, but I'll be 40. And so I'm seeing some of these 21-year-olds, and I'm like, man, I
mm.
see so much of myself in you. I see it. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna
Yeah,
just
yeah,
keep
yeah, yeah,
doing it,
yeah.
girl.
Yeah,
Keep
yeah,
doing it.
yeah,
And so
yeah.
like that wisdom comes into play of now seeing young ones, and like, what does that look like in mentorship, right? But that again always goes back to like, how much do I give to community? How much do I pour into myself? Where does that all fit into
Yeah.
balance?
Yeah. And I guess like in these last few minutes that we have, like how have you been able to strike a balance? Because at the end of the day, you still are a mother. Like, and even though you're in education, you're building a school to send to your children, you're still a businesswoman. You're still a mother. You're still a wife. You have all of these things going on. So like how, I don't know, I guess even how do you see balance? Because I know some people are like, there's no balance. I look for harmony, whatever. So I'm curious, like how
I mean,
you've
that's
been
the
able to.
challenge this year, is getting more balance. I had to birth
Mm,
something. We're in year 5, excuse me, we're in year 4. And so when you're creating something, it's a lot of front end. And now I
mm,
literally have to, this again, I'm mathematically thinking, the very masculine side of myself. If you see my calendar, everything is color coded. And so
mm,
like self-care is purple. I have to have at least 2 self-care. And I'm not talking about like mani-pedis, like a whole thing, but where I've done something wholly and only for myself. So right now it's
mm,
watercoloring, and it could be 10 minutes, but I have to
mm.
schedule it in. That
Yeah.
it's for nobody else, but for me. That's it.
Yes.
Nobody else.
Yes.
It's not serving
Yes.
anybody. I'm not even gonna show anybody. It's just all Shireen, and not even like
Mm,
business, right? Even though that is like a creation of mine, it's still for other people.
yeah.
And so I have to color code my schedule and make sure it's like each child, I need to make sure that I've spent some time with them. So I have to color
Mhm.
code it in, and schedule things in and really just make it really effective. My husband's been so amazing on being patient with me, but now it's time to like make sure we have monthly dates and scheduling that in,
Mm,
like putting that as a priority,
mm,
because if not, it's really just it has to be intentional. And if I'm building this for my children, I'm not even present for them, right? Like
mm.
that's not gonna that defeats the purpose, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, and they're
Mm.
gonna, fly out of the nest, and I'll still be with a colossal. Like I'll still be doing the colossal stuff. And then I would have
Mm,
missed those beautiful opportunities to like
mm.
just Lua's really my middle child that I built the school for. She's like really into giving spa days. So like letting her I hate being like touched in those ways. She really needs to give me a spa. Like that's what
Mm,
she needs. And so I have to like, okay, on Saturday after this, you get to like schedule it in. I'm making
yeah, yeah. And so is your husband, does he also work, or is he he's mainly helping at home and
me.
with the
He
kid?
is
It's amazing.
homemaker, and that was just that was always something within the contract of our marriage, of like someone has to stay home, and that was really important for us. There's been times where
Mm,
I've stayed home, but I feel really a lot more comfortable out in the wild, like making
yeah.
working. That's where I felt. And my oldest is deaf and hard of hearing, so she has therapies that she needs to be driven to,
Mm,
and hearing like evaluations, and it's just we need someone at home, and if we're going to do it right. And so
mm.
he's in the most recent years, I would say in the last 5 years since we moved here, has been the homemaker and making sure that the laundry gets done. I wouldn't say he's like the best at all the cooking stuff, but he's an amazing cook. He's just not like you know so he does take care of the home the majority of the time. And then I also have my mom as an amazing, incredible
Yeah,
person that pours into making sure that you know the fabuloso gets ordered, and
yeah,
the other pieces, or if I'm like, I'm stuck, can someone come give me a jumper cables, like just having an extra. And I know her always and forever will always be my best interest. And
mm,
in the business world, it's so tough because you just never
yeah,
know who's listening and wanting to mine for information and for their own
yeah,
benefit.
yep,
And so it's just like a place where I can just completely blah. And I know that she's not going to take these ideas and either use it
mm,
against me because I'm having a tough day, or take the ideas and try to capitalize for herself. Which that
mm,
this last year has been a lot of like reckoning about like who I
mm.
can keep in my inner circle. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, he's at home
Damn.
and he's
It's
really
amazing though. No, it's so great though, because I just feel like there's so much we could talk about. I feel like we could do like a part 2, part 3, because I'm like there's so many things, because you are so open to just very non-traditional ways of living and operating, but also ones that are rooted, I feel like, in our ancestral values, right? They've been lost, but they're so rooted in, I feel like, how our ancestors probably like raised their children and grew. So like, because I feel like there's so many women and mothers who struggle with working outside of the home, and their husband also working outside. Everybody's working outside of the home. There's no balance, but they don't want to be the one that's at home, but their husband doesn't want to be the one so there's like this kind of conflict, and there's no one, yeah, able to kind of be home. And so for me, I feel like I'm trying to find the balance, staying by working at home, but I'm like also the breadwinner too, like, because I'm by myself, raising 3 kids. So it's just really beautiful that you've been able to set up this like intergenerational living, and willing to move through the muck, the hard stuff, the healing, the mess, in order to create this thing. Because I feel like there's a lot that you probably wouldn't be able to do if you didn't have this support system
none of it.
that
None
you
of
have. Like,
Even just maintaining a low overhead. Like we don't have any loans. I mean, I do have my student loan, but that's been on hold for a minute. But um like the overhead of our household. We're sharing bills, and that really helps to be able to have one person at home because I don't have a full mortgage to pay, right?
Wow.
And then thinking about like, you know, just shared living expenses really helps with having to have someone home. Like,
Mm,
it works for us, and he's so happy to be. He's like the exact, I'm an extreme extrovert and he's an extreme introvert, and we need to see people like twice a year. And I'm like, "Hey, come on, people." Like, and so it works
aw,
out really well. And it only works out because we have the extra support. And then also we're able to maintain a low overhead. Like, it really just,
yeah,
so I can imagine what that looks like, and needing to maintain. I know what it looks like because we've been there, right? You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah,
we know what that looks like to have to try to make all the ends meet on all fronts.
yeah, yeah. Damn. I would love to have another chat with you at some point because I'm like, man, we just getting started. Shit. But I know we have to wrap. So I guess I just want to ask, like, for you as a mama, like, there's lots of mamas out there probably listening, feeling inspired. So like what are like one or two, I guess, tips or like insights or pieces of wisdom that you want to kind of impart to mamas who might be listening, either based on our conversation or just what's coming up for you?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I thought was, if it's not there, to go ahead and create it. It's kind of like a motto that I live by at this
Mm,
point. If
I
it's
love
not,
that.
the vision's coming through you, right?
Yes.
Given and gifted to you because you're the one that's supposed to make it happen. Right?
Yes. Yes.
So if you're gifted some vision, please follow
Mm,
it, because your vision
yes.
isn't gifted to me because it's not mine. It's not my
Yes.
responsibility to see it through. So,
Yes.
and then the other part is really like learning how to, you got to quiet the inner saboteur, the one that wants to destroy
Mm,
that, and do the work
mm,
that comes with it. And whether it's seeking outside help and people who have like either been through experiences that can and have overcome and can pull you through, or doing internal work yourself, however that
mm,
needs to look for you, whether it's, licensed professionals by the state board of whatever, or our beautiful ancestors and elders who hold
mm,
space for us, however that looks for your own practice, um,
mm.
of of growth, right? And so those are kind of like the two. Listen to your vision, create what's
Yeah.
out there, and seek help and lean on those that are really there, that was their vision, right?
Yes.
Was to pull
Yes.
people through, like you, Tiff, like you're pulling these mamas through because that was the
Yeah.
vision that was gifted to you, with
Yeah.
all the skills that you needed to have, right?
Yep.
So yeah,
Oh,
super
that's so
excited.
great.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Tiff.
Shireen.
Oh
I
my
love you
God,
so
we
much.
need like monthly meetings,
I
apparently.
know.
Our own podcast is what
Really,
we need.
I know. I feel like that'd be awesome. But I know you have to go, and so do I. But I just appreciate you. I love you. And like, where can people find you if they want to
Yeah.
connect with you?
So if you're at the micro school coach, is my handle, as well as Colossal Community, because we have a whole bunch of community micro schools. So
Okay, cool.
you can check those handles out.
Okay, yay. Thank
Tiff,
you. Love
love
you.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.